Hey folks, I'm Mike. Do you hate ads? I hate ads. You know what I like? Patreon.com/Inkdependence. It keeps this blog ad-free. Hello folks, welcome to Inkdependence.com. Today we're looking at this ink. This is Robert Oster's Thunderstorm, which is a real dark blue-black. Mostly blackish, really, but you can tell it's a blue a little bit. We'll see here in a sec. I got this ink just about a year ago in Chicago at the pen show. I helped Lisa Vanness pack up the ink into her van. The towers of ink, man, very heavy. So she gave me a bottle of ink, and I picked this one. And so that's the story. These come in 50 ml bottles, like these, all the way from Australia, where Robert makes these guys. There are a zillion Robert Oster inks. You've seen several of them on the channel. So you can find this for about $17, looks like, at Vanness, and probably elsewhere as well. So let's take a look at this ink. Bam. All right, so this is the written review bit, and yeah, you can tell it's a very dark blue-black here. Depending upon the like the nib you have it in, you will see more or less of the blue. It may just look black most of the time. So the first pen I actually put it in was this one. This is an Aurora Talentum. What do they call this? Black Ops, I think is what they call this one. And it has a very wet medium nib on here. And this actually was a little bit too wet for this ink. I kept it in there for a long time, but I was never super happy with it in here because you put an ink that's kind of wet, this one's pretty wet, into a pen that's wet, like this one, and you kind of end up with a bit of a mess on your hands. And then it went into arrows. So it's currently in this one, which I actually just got from Pen Chalet. They have a great sale on these going on. And this one is a medium nib. I also had it in a fine nib in another pen, and it worked very well in both of those. I already ran out the fine. I didn't feel like re-inking it just to show the pen. So anyway, arrows. Arrows run a little on the, like they're a medium sort of nib, but maybe a little bit wet in some cases. This one's a very nice controlled sort of medium, and it worked really well in the fine, which just doesn't put out quite as much ink. But here it also looks kind of black in these writing samples. So look at the swatch, and if you're using a wider nib, if you're using a stub or some such, you might see more of that blue come through, especially if like a mildly, like maybe a mildly dry stub, if you got one of those sitting around, like, I don't know, maybe like a Lamy stub or something like that might look good in. But you do get mostly black. So if you're one of those people that needs to have a sort of, I don't know, formal ink for the office place, this might be a good one for you. So this is my regular 80 gram Rhodia paper. Flow, fairly wet, as I said. Performance, it is not great on bad papers. So this is the bad paper. This is Staples 20 pound. This is like 30% recycled. It's not great. And you do, like, it's okay. So like I said, this Aurora Talentum was just a gusher, and look how much wider that line is than this one. This is the medium Diplomat Arrow, and it works just fine in here. It's more controlled, but this one, just a lot of spreading. You get some feathers and that sort of thing. And then here's the fine nib, and I think the fine nib was actually just good, just fine too. Just fine? It's a very nice, very nice and a fine nib. So this ought to be good for all you fine nib folk out there. But if you look at the back, it's these lines. Only really the fine nib is, I don't know, what I would call kind of acceptable, right? So this one bled through quite a lot. Even in the medium arrow, it tends to bleed through in some spots, but also keep in mind this paper is not super consistent. So, but it is what you probably have in your office place. So not great on those unless you're using a fine nib. If you're using a fine nib, probably pretty acceptable. Qualities, mild shading, rare sheen. There is a little bit of sheen to be found in this ink, but you really got to look, and you got to have just the right paper. And then we talked about the pens already. So, good stuff about this ink is that it is a real dark blue-black, and it is a true blue-black. A lot of blue-blacks, and we'll look at some here in a minute, do tend to lean sort of green or maybe even a little bit purple sometimes. But this one is just it's a blue-black, man. Just blue-black. At least that's the way it appears on the page. Just wait till you see the chromatography on this guy. All right, so use the good stuff and you'll be plenty happy. Let's look at this on a couple of other kinds of paper. Here, if I can find it. This is an Inky Fingers currently inked book. You can find these by Googling Inky Fingers, and you'll find these guys. Also, link in the description. And here it is in all three of these. So here's the Talentum 5, 7. Yeah, this is the one I had in first for a couple of months anyway, or a month or so. This is the Talentum full black. Man, that's what they call it. It looks just pretty black here. A little bit of blue you can see here down in these bits. You can also see some of the blue from the fine in the Diplomat Arrow. And then this one, this is the newest one I have it in. And in the medium arrow, it just kind of looks black. But the flow is great, feels nice on the page. I dig this ink. Here's an ink journal. Ink journals use Tomoe River, at least this one does. And I've got I've in several places here because I do single file because you can see through Tomoe River. So here it is from that new beautiful blue arrow I got. Dang, that's good looking. And I think it looks really nice. You can see some of the blue here on this Tomoe River. It really comes through in these little bits where it just you'll get the ink sort of pooling at the edges of a scribble like this, and you end up with the blue in the middle. I think it looks really nice. Then here we have it from the fine nib on that other arrow, looking pretty good there. And then here, there's the talentum, right in there-ish. So yeah, looks really nice on here, and you can see a little bit of sheen sometimes. I mean, it's completely obliterated by like the sheen down here in this Skull and Roses, which is nuts, right? Okay, all right. So let's do a water test right quick, and then look at this compared to a whole bunch of other inks that are like it. Let's put some water on here. All right, let's give it a little shake and a shimmy and then wipe it off. I gave myself an unintentional real-world water drop test here the other day. This kind of thing does happen. We all know it. We've been working around coffee mugs or cups of water or something with ice in it, and then it condensates. Oh, look at that. That's real pretty. It's a nice design. Look at these, I wipe away the water test, and it looks really nice. Cool, huh? Cool. And also, it's got this light blue halo. Look at that light blue halo on these. Not on this one. This is a light yellow halo. But I was talking in another video about this light blue halo you see a lot of times. There it is. That's what I'm talking about. All right, water resistance. Yeah, not great. This seems to come almost completely off the page. I guess you can still sort of read it, but man, that is faint and not good. So, yeah, don't do that. Of course, it does seem to wipe away fairly cleanly, so if you can read the faint lines, you can recover your work. I've had some others where it washed away the top layer of ink, but it also sort of, I don't know, it blotted out some of the neighboring letters and stuff with all of that color. So, yeah, not water resistant, but recoverable. Yeah. I'm a little disappointed. I thought this was going to have more water resistance. Here is the chromatography. Now, remember I told you this looks just straight up blue-black without leaning purple or something? This sucker is mostly purple, it seems. There's what I blotted away. You can see there's like a little bit of lavender here in the middle around inside that blue halo. You don't see any of the blue halo here, but it's purple or like dark mauve or something. Really interesting because, I mean, crazy, right? Inks, dude. How do they work? All right. All right, let's look at some color comparisons here. I don't have my Thunderstorm card. Weird. Well, we'll use this. So let's look at it next to some things that it is not particularly like. So here is a sort of classic blue-black. This is Noodlers Air Core blue-black, which is a blue-black I actually used to use a whole lot. But if you look at this guy, and I'm sure you can see it on your screen, it's definitely like a super dark green, right? It leans green for some reason. Thunderstorm does not. More of a blue. Then let's look at, here's another one. This is Robert Oster's blue-black. Both of these, of course, Robert Oster inks, but this one is one that leans noticeably violet up here in the shading bits. Just leans violet. You get a little bit of sheen in here too, but mostly kind of violet-y blue-black. And there are several that are kind of like that. Monteverde's is a little bit like this. I didn't bother to show all of them, but so sometimes they lean green, sometimes they lean purple, sometimes they're just straight up blue, which is weird given what we know is in there. Okay. Next up, let's do, this is Faber-Castell's Midnight Blue, which is real pretty blue, I think. It's got some nice sheen. Let me zoom out just a skosh. And then next to that, let's put Athena blue-black. This is a blue-black that was given to me as a sample from my friend Claire, who loves Athena blue-black. This stuff is kind of hard to get a hold of, and when you do, it's very expensive. So I appreciate her sending me the sample. I haven't had a chance to actually use the ink yet, but I do hear great things about it. It's supposed to be one of those all-time classic blue-blacks. It's definitely lighter than Thunderstorm. It's another one that just looks blue, except this looks like it shades sort of denim-y, and this one just shades sort of dark navy. So very different. This one a little bit closer, but again, leans a little bit on the purple side. All right, let's do Diamine's Chopin, which this looks beautiful. And my friend Kelly at Mountain of Ink, check out Mountain of Ink's blog if you haven't yet. She's great at ink reviews. This is a really pretty ink, and I've got to get it in a pen stat. Next to that, let's put one that's a lot of people's favorites. It's from my friend Scott, Paperlate on the Instagrams and such. This is Bung Box's 4B, which is another kind of expensive blue black, but has a good amount of reddish sheen to it. And it's another straight blue black, just like Chopin appears to be. This looks like it might lean a little bit on the gray side, but this one, like nothing I have is actually all that close to Thunderstorm. Then let's do a couple of Sailors because we can. This is Sailor's Shikiori Shimoyo. Shimoyo? I know I'm butchering that. Correct me in the comments, please. Which I got from Vanness Pens last year. I haven't had a chance to use that one. However, this one is probably my favorite blue-black. This is Sailor Shikiori Yonaga. Man, look at you get a little bit of like green sheen in here. It's a super beautiful blue-black, or maybe it's just like a super dark blue. It may not even be a blue-black now that I think about it, but whatever, man. I love this one. I haven't had a chance to use this one because I'm just so taken with that. In fact, Vanness Pens hooked me up with a sample of this at the same time they gave me this one, and I liked it so much, I immediately used it up and then bought a bottle because darn it, that's a good ink. All right, so I don't really have anything that's exactly like Robert Oster's Thunderstorm. It's a really interesting blue-black, which may in fact be kind of a, I don't know, extra dark mauve or something? Weirdness. Weird. All right. So that's that. You can find this in 50 ml bottles at your favorite Robert Oster ink purveyor. So say hi to those folks when you order this cool ink, and I will see y'all later. Peace out.